Hey lovelies, welcome to this episode of Coach Caris, Itchy, Bitchy and Guests. My podcast where I speak about midlife stuff. Perimenopause, menopause, midlife, health, fitness, nutrition. It's me speaking about all the stuff that I find quite interesting actually, and I hope you do as well. So today, this is my second attempt at recording this, by the way. My first attempt, I don't know what I did. I bumbled over my words. I couldn't get my window open properly. And then I had a total sneezing fit. So I've just deleted that. See, if I hadn't have told you that, you would just thought that I was dead cool and I get it all the time. But I don't. It's actually still a bit of a drama to do a podcast. Anyway, midlife fatigue. What's normal and what needs changing, right? So I want to speak about this today so that bone deep tiredness that actually makes you wonder, like, what the fuck is happening to me? And I'm not just speaking about you having a thought about, oh, I can't be arsed going to the gym today. I'm speaking about the stuff that hits you for days, it wipes you out. You maybe find that you just want to nap all the time. Maybe you are napping all the time. You're not sleeping properly. You physically feel that you don't have the energy to do anything. That's what I want to speak about, right? But I want you to think about, if you have this, or if you have tiredness or laziness, what is normal and what needs changing. It's quite easy to think, oh my God, what is happening to me? I'm not motivated to do anything. I've just turned into a right lazy cow. All right, and a lot of that is to do with hormones, obviously because we're in midlife, all right. But a lot of it's to do with our age, obviously. But a lot of it is to do with nutrition and the type and the kind and the amount of food that we eat, right? Now, I'm speaking about this today off the back of my most listened to podcast, which was episode 52, the last episode, about why cutting carbs in midlife is a shit idea, basically, all right? So the two of them are very, very, very relatable, all right? So midlife fatigue, it isn't always just about age, right? What the biggest concern for me with midlife women is that all these changes go on in their body, and then they're like, oh, well, this is life now. Change is not for the good, right? And then they're like, oh, well, this is life now. Do you know, this is me now. This is my energy levels now, i.e. cannot be fucked doing anything. I'm fat now. I've lost the love for life. This is me now. My relationships are shit. I've lost my pals. I hate my job. My husband's doing my nutting. All right. And quite often we accept that. Don't want you to accept that. All right. Sometimes midlife fatigue, right, is about your lifestyle. And again, this is probably the most controversial thing I consistently say, right? And really, it's not controversial because it's actual science, but to the untrained ear, I used to think this as well, all right, it is the most controversial thing ever. The perimenopause and the menopause does not cause weight gain, all right? There is no direct scientific link between perimeno and meno and weight gain, right? If that was the case, every single middle-aged woman would gain weight, right? They do not. I did, they do not, all right? Some of us do, some of us don't, all right? But your lifestyle around this time, right? And by lifestyle, I mean your movement levels, your energy levels, your exercise levels, the type of food that you eat, the amount of food that you eat can all cause weight gain, all right? Sometimes it is just down to the fact that you need to do something differently. Patronising as fuck, I know, but that is exactly what sometimes it just comes down to, alright? So, this episode connects directly to one of my most listened to shows. It wasn't one of my most, it was the most listened to podcast, alright? Episode 52, Why Cutting Carbs in Midlife is Not the Answer. Alright, because so often fatigue shows up when we've been under-fueling our bodies, so we're not eating enough, we're over-restricting the tasty stuff, or over-restricting in general, i.e. cutting out carbs, or following advice on Instagram. How many influencers are there out there, by the way? There's loads of them, alright? So we're following advice from influencers that actually have no clue about what midlife is like. i.e. 20-year-olds. Right? So just be careful, my lovelies, all right? So, what is normal fatigue in midlife? All right, normal fatigue in midlife can be due to hormonal fluctuations, all right? When we're in the perimenopause, when we're in midlife, when we're in the menopause, right, our hormones fluctuate. Our estrogen and our progesterone go all over the place. They're up and down and up and down and up and down like a yo-yo, and our testosterone drops as well, all right? This can cause disrupted sleep. Disrupted sleep makes you tired, makes you feel fatigued, all right? Another thing is the changes that we go through when we're trying to recover from exercise. So quite often it will take us longer to recover. So therefore, instead of scaling back our training, like training every second day, we just assume that because we're not managing to go training 5 days in a row that we're fatigued, when actually you're not. You just need to maybe give yourself another wee rest day or switch up your training, all right? Our recovery levels and our energy do dip. They absolutely do dip, right? And I'm not denying that. This podcast is not about denying anything that's going to happen to us. It's about learning to manage and finding out what works for you to make your perimenopause symptoms less impactful on your life, all right? We also, at this time in our life, right, we can have a lot of stress in our life, all right? We're trying to balance work. We're trying to balance family. We've maybe still got young kids. We've maybe got aging parents. And general life admin, right? Like when you've got that massive to-do list that you need to do and you're just like, oh my word. So all of that adds to stress, right? Again, that adds to disrupted sleep. And it just adds to... I actually just need 10 minutes for myself or an hour for myself, and I'm just going to sit on the sofa and scroll Instagram, right? Which I'll cover later on. It's not necessarily a good idea. So we need to be able to determine like the difference between occasional tiredness, perfectly normal by the way, all right? We all get that. We've all had that. We've had that for years. And it is quite normal. So occasional tiredness is normal. However, persistent fatigue and persistent exhaustion is not normal. And it's not something that we should be accepting. We need to try and fight against that. And the only way we're going to do that is to switch things up and change some things, because whatever you're doing just now is obviously not working. All right. So lifestyle factors that make midlife fatigue worse. Now this, if you listen to my podcast and me on Instagram, none of these should come as any surprise. All right. None of these are new. I have spoken about all of these before. Just having a wee sip of tea there. So, lifestyle factors that make fatigue worse, all right? Undereating. Undereating. The amount of women, in fact, I'm going to go out on a limb here, right? And say every single client that I have will tell me at some point within the first couple of weeks of working together that they have been undereating, right? Because that's what us women do, don't we? We try to live like, we try to eat like a wee sparrow. We try to cut out carbs and live on lettuce and a cup of soups, right? So undereating is massively directly connected to fatigue, all right? Hello diet culture for a start, right? And cutting carbs. Again, go and listen to episode 52, all right? So while we are undereating, we're doing anything we can to stave off the hunger pangs. So that could turn into an over-reliance on caffeine, right, including fizzy juices or Monster and actual coffee, right, and also an over-reliance on sugar for energy boosts. So you maybe don't want to like have 400 calories for your lunch, but you'll save 200 by eating 200 calories of chocolate, because that'll give you energy, right? It will give you energy. It'll give you instant energy, and then you'll just get whacked by a big bloody crash. So getting that, and I'm not saying cut those out. I have a takeaway coffee every day, as you all know. I have a Freddo, sometimes 2 Freddos every day, right? As you all know, I do not hide this fact, all right? But those are as a supplement to my 1,800, 1,900, 2,200 calories that I eat as well throughout the day for energy, all right? Lack of strength training will give you no muscle, all right? And it is a very much use it or lose it. So if you don't use the muscle that we've got, you're going to lose it. But if you don't use the energy levels that you've got to exercise, you're going to lose them as well. So you're just going to end up wanting to sit on the sofa all the time or wanting to stay in your bed all the time, all right? We need to exercise and we need to lift weights, ladies. I promise you, it will absolutely help with fatigue. All right, poor sleep hygiene. So pre-bed routines are another thing that I do with my clients, all right? They are super important. And for me, a pre-bed routine was an absolute game changer. In fact, I've said it before, it was a life changer. Game changer just doesn't seem to sum it up sometimes, but life changing also sounds quite dramatic, all right? But if you can imagine how good you would feel after 7 or 8 hours sleep, 7 or 8 hours of good quality sleep, honestly, the things that used to irritate you before, it's just like water off a duck's back now. You are less likely to lose your shit when you've had a good sleep, all right? So if you're staying up late, later than you should, right? Later than it's not giving you 7 to 9 hours of good quality sleep, then that's not going to help you, all right? If you're on your phone an hour before you go to your bed, right, and you're scrolling, you've got the blue light going on, that's not going to do you any good neither. That's going to disrupt your sleep. And you might think that you need your phone to fall asleep, right? And you might fall asleep. It's like if you have a drink, it makes you unconscious and you fall asleep, but damn tootin', you're going to be waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're never going to get back to sleep. Your heart's going to be racing. Your head's going to be pounding. Your brain's going to be whirring. And then you're just going to be burst when you actually have to get out of your bed. So put your phones away. Ladies, come on. We're not children. Get your phones away an hour before you go to bed, at least. Get off the television as well. It's the same light. Get off the television. Get a book. Get a podcast. Get a Kindle. Do something different, all right? Also, irregular routines are one of the worst destroyers of sleep, all right? If you go to your bed at 10 o'clock, Monday to Friday, please still go to your bed at 10 o'clock on a Saturday and a Sunday, unless you're out partying. I'm speaking about consistently here. I'm not speaking about the odd night out. That's totally allowed, all right? If you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, Monday to Friday, get up at 6 o'clock in the morning at the weekend. It is one of the best things you can do. You want to prime your brain and your body for sleep. And the way that it does that is by routine, all right? Routines are amazing. Wait till a night out at a party before you go wild, all right? Be boring the rest of the time. Nutrition and energy, all right? These things are, again, directly connected, all right? Nutrition is one of the things that can help you manage your perimenopause symptoms or your midlife symptoms the most. But because a lot of us have been so conditioned to cutting out carbs or to dieting constantly, right? Our body and our brain is like, fuck me, I'm exhausted, all right? Learning to eat properly and learning to eat to fuel your body and learning to eat the correct amount of calories to sustain weight maintenance or a small deficit to sustain fat loss, right, is massive. But everybody's like, aye, whatever. But it's true, all right? Your body's preferred source of energy is carbs. Your brain's preferred source of energy is carbs. If you do not give your body carbs, it will have no energy. Which translates to, I cannot be fucked doing anything. If you don't give your brain its preferred source of energy, carbs, your brain won't work. Like, it literally won't work. Your brain fog will be 50 times worse than it currently is. Yeah, there's an element of brain fog that's associated with midlife and the estrogen dipping out all your brain cells. That is absolutely true, all right? But what we're trying to do here is make your brain function as best as it can, right? And the only way it's going to do that is to give it some carbs, give it some energy, give it some sugar, give it some glucose, give it some glycogen, which is the carb version of your body converting it into sugar, all right? You don't need to just go out and eat a bag of sugar. Eat some carbs, eat some vegetables, eat some pasta, eat some rice, eat some bread, all right? Your body converts it into glycogen, which then passes the blood-brain barrier, and it gives your brain energy. It's amazing, honestly, right? So low-carb diets, again, this is a science, all right? Low-carb diets can cause brain fog. They can cause mood swings. They can cause fatigue, all right, in your body and your brain. Nobody wants to be a hangry, moody, knackered cow, because nobody will like you. And you'll also feel that everything in your life is an absolute drama, right? And we want to be living life. So, another plug for episode 52, all right? Go and have a listen to it. It's on Spotify, or you can find me on Instagram. It's also on YouTube as well, by the way. YouTube and Spotify are both Coach Caris, all right? Instagram is Coach Caris. I've made it really easy for you, all right? This is exactly why I recorded this episode, because so many women think that cutting carbs is the fix for midlife. It is not. You are making your midlife way worse than if you actually ate a sandwich, all right? It's often the very thing that leaves you drained is cutting out carbs, all right? So, you all know my thoughts on HRT. For me, HRT is an absolute life changer, all right? You need to seek support from a medical practitioner if your fatigue is extreme and ongoing. I am not a doctor. I do not kid on or profess to be a doctor, all right? I am speaking scientific evidence and my experience and my clients' experiences, all right? If you are consistently suffering fatigue, get your peachy ass along to the doctors, all right? There are things that they can do, all right? You can have your bloods taken. They can check out things like thyroid, your iron levels, B12 and vitamin D. A lot of these things, or an element of these things, we can fix on our own by getting out for a walk, by sorting out our nutrition and by exercising. However, it's always worth getting it checked out, all right? Also, talk to your GP about, if you are at the age of the perimenopause or the menopause, talk to your GP about that. Keep a track of your symptoms, all right? Today, I'm going to give you some top tips that you can do today to try and increase your energy, all right? It might be instant, it might take you a couple of days, but if I could take every single woman in the world that was complaining about fatigue, stick them in an empty room, all right, with no stress, nothing to worry about, and a gym kit, and feed them excellent food, right? I guarantee you within 2 to 3 days, every single woman would have more energy. There is so much that we can do ourselves to make ourselves feel better, but we don't, because we think it's too difficult and we think the easy option is going to the doctors and getting a prescription, whereas in fact getting a prescription long term is the hard option. If you can fix as much as you can yourself and you still need a prescription, I'm not speaking about HRT, by the way, I'm speaking about other stuff like antidepressants or vitamin B12 jags or iron supplements or whatever, all right? But we can fix a lot of this ourselves. We choose not to sometimes because we think the easy option is going to the doctors, right? And that's not the easy option. So, top tips that you can do today, right now at your next meal, all right, is sort out a balanced meal, whether that's your lunch or whether that's your dinner, all right? So we want some protein, quarter of a plate of protein. We want quarter of a plate of starchy carbs, potatoes, sweet potatoes, pasta, rice. Your lean protein, chicken, fish, pulses, dairy, low-fat cottage cheese, anything, all right? Low-fat mince, steak, quarter of a plate of protein, quarter of a plate of starchy carbs, fill the other half of your plate with fruit and veg. A wee bit of fat, a thumb-sized piece of fat, so maybe like a wee salad dressing or a dollop of butter on your baked potato. Didn't even get me started on folk that didn't eat fat because they think it makes them fat. That just, anyway, right? So, your next plate of food, yeah? Quarter of a plate of protein, quarter of a plate of starchy carbs, half a plate of fruit and or veg. Do that 3 times a day. I just held up 4 fingers there. 3 times a day for 3 days, right? I absolutely guarantee you will totally feel better. Prioritise sleep as much as your workouts, all right? It's not a choice here. We don't get into the habit of thinking that if you've only got an hour that you need to go and knock your pan in for 60 minutes, right? Getting a massive sweat on, right? You could do 30 minutes of exercise and then put the other 30 minutes to a nice pre-bed routine, putting your phone away, picking up a book, having a nice warm shower or a nice warm bath, having a nice wee cup of tea. all right? Prioritise your sleep. If you are constantly fatigued and knackered, but you have so much to do that you can only get to your bed at midnight to get up at 5 o'clock, you need to learn to say no. That's a whole other podcast, all right? You need to learn to prioritise yourself, and you need to learn to delegate said tasks to other people in the household, or you just need to say no, all right? You need to prioritise your sleep, ladies. Strength training, get the weights lifted. If it's a dumbbell, if it's a kettlebell, if it's body weight, if it's a barbell, all of those things are bloody fantastic. Resistant bands as well, by the way, all right? I get that being in the gym is not for everybody, but you need to lift some weights. First of all, it'll tire your body out and you might sleep better. Second of all, it'll make you feel fucking awesome. The world is always a better place when you feel awesome and you love yourself, all right? If you are tired, go for a walk. Don't sit on the sofa. Don't fucking open a bottle of wine and tan it. This will make you tireder. Go for a walk. Get out in the fresh air. Do 10 minutes of yoga, right? YouTube has an access of what's the word I'm thinking of? A library of, oh my God, so many yoga sessions ranging from about 8 minutes right up to about 30 minutes, right? Get yourself a yoga mat. If you can't afford a yoga mat, use the rug in the living room, right? Put a towel down, do something, all right? 10 minutes of yoga. I kid you not, it'll make you feel much better. On the days that you are tired, still move. Go for a walk, do your yoga. Also, try and get into the habit. This is my last top tip, all right? I said it earlier at the beginning of the podcast, routines, right? Routines are the things that free up your brain space. They are the things that you can do automatically without even thinking about it to allow you to have brain capacity and brain space for the other stuff that's important, all right? Get up at the same time, go to bed at the same time, put your phone away at the same time, pick your book up at the same time, drink a cup of tea at the same time, have your lunch at the same time, have your breakfast at the same time, have your dinner at the same time, have your supper at the same time. Eat the same breakfast for 3 or 4 days in a row. Eat the same lunch for 2 days in a row. Eat the same dinner for 3 days in a row. Eat the same supper. Cup of tea and a Freddo. I would never not eat that. Eat the same supper forever. This is the stuff that frees up your brain space, all right? When you have your lunch, go for a walk, all right? If you can get used to exercising in the morning, exercise in the morning. Always do it. Always turn up. You don't even need to think about it. Eventually, these things will become like cleaning your teeth and making your bed. You just do them without thinking about it. All right. Fatigue in midlife, ladies, it is real. It absolutely floored me. I put on 2 stone. It was probably just over, in fact, it was over 2 stone. It was about 28 pounds in total. Oh no, that is 2 stone. Must have been about 31. Anyway, I put on 2 stone, right? The reason that I put on 2 stone is I let my routine go to fuck. All right, absolutely patched my routine, stopped training, right? And I started sitting on the sofa and eating Haribo and takeaways because I couldn't be bothered cooking. All right, it is real. I'm not disputing that it's real. What I'm trying to say to you is that there is so many things that you can do to make it better. 100%, all right? It's not something you have to accept. I don't want you to give in to any of this. I want you to absolutely bloody fight it. Your body is changing. It is changing. And when you get out the black hole and when you get out the fatigue, right, you'll realise that it's actually changing for the better, because in midlife, it is zero fucks, all right? But you've got the right support, the right food, the right movement, and if you can introduce some healthy habits, you can absolutely get your energy back. I kid you not, all right? I don't want you to accept midlife fatigue, right? Yes, it's difficult. It doesn't have to be there forever. If this podcast is relevant to you, all right, please go back and listen to episode 52, Why Cutting Carbs in Midlife is Not the Answer. It's the perfect partner to my chat today, because energy and nutrition are so deeply linked. I would actually say intrinsically. That is a very big word. I'm not even reading that off the screen. That just came to me in a blinding flash, all right? They are so intrinsically linked. Intrinsically. Anyway, I'm obviously not used to saying that, right? But they are. Energy and nutrition, right? Definitely 100%. As always, lovelies, if this episode helped you, please share it with another woman. Please share it with your pals. Please share it with everybody. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Spotify under Coach Caris. I'm also on Instagram as Coach Caris, all right? If you have any questions, ever about anything midlife nutrition, anything midlife exercise, anything about the perimenal, find me on one of these platforms and drop me a message, all right? My chat is always free. I am always happy to answer any questions. Or if you just want to share a story, just find me. All right, lovelies, thank you very much. I'll speak to you all soon. Have a banging day. I'm away to drink my tea. Bye.